Thank you for the warm introduction. So, the topic for us today is what makes mentoring work. Before we deliberate on this topic, and I ask my esteemed panelists to share their thoughts, let us understand what mentor means, what is mentoring, and what is it that which a mentor is not supposed to be. Mentor actually is a Latin word meaning to endure or to sustain a relationship to share one's experience with others. Mentoring is a way of offering support and advice to someone as a person and may touch upon any aspect of his or her life. Now, in the context of startups, as we all know, startup is a roller coaster ride. One day the founder is on the top of the world, and the next day she might be in the ditches. Entrepreneurs are constantly fighting of one or the other challenge that keeps cropping up for them all so often. And this is the reason why having a mentor is so crucial for an entrepreneur. For a mentee, a mentor is a guiding force who gives the right kind of stimulus necessary to tackle the situation at hand during each phase of mentee's entrepreneur journey. A mentor's emphasis is always on helping the mentee to look for possible solutions on their own instead of giving the solutions. Another crucial value add that a mentor brings in is the outside perspective. Using this outside perspective and their own experience and knowledge, a mentor can help one understand how their business relates to other stakeholders, how will investors view the business, what might make them uneasy about the venture, how will customers view the product or the service. And make no mistake, great mentors are not yes men. A great mentor should believe in the mentee's product or project, but that does not mean that they will agree with every single idea of their mentee. We should also not confuse training or coaching with mentoring. They're quite different from each other. Coaching is specific and very tightly focused, while training mostly is work related. A mentor, however, is much more than a coach or a trainer. And that's the reason why I think mentoring is never one to many. It must be one to one, otherwise, it is not mentoring. I very strongly feel that mentoring should have some kind of an incentive for the mentor too. And the incentive can be a tangible one or it can be an intangible. What is important is that both the mentor and the mentee should gain from the relationship. So I'll stop here and I will now request my fellow panelists to throw some light on this subject. Our first panelist is Dr. Vivek Mansingh. His recently released book, Achieving Meaningful Success, covers the topic of mentoring extensively. In the book, he says, I believe everyone needs and deserves a mentor, and my dream is to mentor a million. So, who better than Dr. Mansingh to share his thoughts on what makes mentoring work? Dr. Mansingh, please.
Thank you, Vinod. Thank you with that wonderful introduction of mine as well as the subject of mentoring. So, as you said, I believe everyone needs and deserves a mentor. But the challenge generally is how do people find mentors when you especially think about second tier cities, students, college students, and so on, all the way to actually mid career and even CXOs. They all need mentors, in my opinion. I am myself a product of my mentors. I have had 10 odd mentors throughout my professional career. And the book that you are talking about is actually a mentor. The reason of writing the book was that it will become mentor to most people, whether they are high school students or they are CXOs. In one line, if I can describe, what the book does and what mentors do, it is the same. The book is about define who you aspire to be and then become that person. Define who you aspire to be and then become that person. What does mentor do? First of all, he or she captures your aspirations into goals that you would like to achieve. That's
Right.
what mentors do. That's what book does also. If you have time, I would highly encourage use a book called Trillion Dollar Coach, where Bill Campbell has
Yes.
described how he coached the who's who of Silicon Valley. So
Yes.
if these people who are the founders of Google and Steve Jobs and Yahoo founders and others, if they can take help from a coach or a mentor, who are we as mere mortals not to actually take this advantage? So mentors are very very crucial. Most things, Vinod, you have covered already, but I want people to know that it's very important that you describe or with your mentee or mentor and mentee agree on the outcome that they are looking for. It has to
Mhm.
be a very focused activity, and the outcome has to be well understood by both mentee and mentors. So this is what mentors do. My book is a mentor, and I encourage all entrepreneurs. This is an entrepreneur platform. There's a chapter on entrepreneurship there as well. I hope you get to read that and take first few steps as a mentee, and then by that time, hopefully, you find a real life mentor who can take you from there to your destination.
Thank you, Dr. Mansingh. Very insightful. So, our second panelist is Dr. Sarita Ahlawat, who is an innovator and entrepreneur. She is a BIRAC Big Fellow, head and co-founder of Living Science Group, and co-founder of BotLab. BotLabs is a drone startup as and was in the news recently when they put up 1,000 drone show at the Republic Day beating retreat ceremony. So over to you, Dr. Sarita.
Uh, uh, Dr. Sood, Mr. Sood, thank you. Dr. Vivek, thank you so much for being on the same panel as us. And I think you both have covered a lot of the ground on mentoring, but I say our perspective is slightly different because we represent the hard domain of startup area. So we are in the building of hardware in India. So where software and application based have done much better and start hardware based startups are just picking up in India, and the struggles are, so I would say for entrepreneurs the journey is anyways hard. And in India the journey is, whether your software based solution or hardware, is hard. But for hardware based, because the ecosystem is lacking, so we struggle a little bit more than the others. And I think I'll be happy to hear what Aditya has to say. uh, so I would say in this journey, what we find and what we struggle with, because this area is uncharted in India, so there are very few people who can actually
Right.
mentor you on this. So I've been to a lot of panel discussions, part of several courses, and where the struggle is you don't really find a exact match. So along the time, what I learned is just get being mentored for small, the queries that you might have. Because the fundraising is not similar for a hardware based or software based, they're very different. I would say for hardware based is much harder. The lag phase is harder, even the building team is hard. So finding a mentor, one mentor or a couple of mentors who can help you in hardware domain is, I would say, next to impossible. You might have to live with a bucket full of mentors who can advise you, guide you over small tasks. So how I go about is, the issue that I have at hand, I think about it and I think about who to approach. And I would say in that Ty has been a huge mentor to us. We have attended several programs, and several mentors we have found through Ty, and several
Mhm.
mentors who are part of Thai have been really encouraging. And as Vinod sir said, mentor has to be, hand holding, loving, caring, and all that we found in Thai mentors. And I have a specific example. So I think mentor has to do both things and encourage and at the same time tell you the
Yes,
truth.
yes.
And so we have gotten both from the mentors that we have been advised by. And so sometime mentor can tell you whether it will work or not, but at the same time, because I now understand that not everybody has experience of building in hardware, so we have to put it in right perspective. So maybe what mentor says is accurate 90 or 80%. So 20% we have to take a judgment and we have to reapproach the mentor and say, based on our experience, now with this input, what is it that you think? Will this
Mhm.
work or not work? So this is the kind of approach that we have been taking. And I think it'll be really nice if in India, more and more people can offer to be mentor for hardware based startups.
Thank you, Dr. Sarita, and thanks for telling us from your real experiences. And I'm sure bodies like TiE and NASCOM will look at some of the inputs based on what you mentioned in terms of finding or having a larger pool of mentors who also can help entrepreneurs like you who are building complete products which involve hardware. So, our final panelist is a young serial entrepreneur who started his entrepreneurial journey right in college. Aditya Kothari is a co founder of Chingari, India's best known short video app. Chingari made headlines when Salman Khan launched India's first crypto token, Gadi. And incidentally, Aditya also is my mentee. So over to you, Aditya, to share your thoughts and your experiences.
Thanks a lot, Vinod sir. Thank you so much. Hi, Dr. Vivek and Dr. Sarita. Pleasure to share the panel with you. Yeah, I think it's a very, very important topic, which, I mean, not just when I started off my initial journey, it was very difficult for me to, especially when you are into a new domain like a startup, right? And especially when you don't exactly know how it works. I remember in my early days, I had bumped into Vinod sir. In fact, I had pinged him very early on because I heard that, he was mentoring, people like Desh from OU and a couple of others. And that's when I pinged him and said, that I'm at one of the crossroads and I'm not really sure what to do. And I really, really feel that it's super important to have a mentor. More than that, it's actually very important to have an open mind, right? Because sometimes, you listen to a lot of people and you're overconfident and you feel, oh, I know everything. But then, that's the hardest part to basically take, right? It's like they say, smart is a person who learns from others' mistakes, but smarter is a person who learns from, everyone's mistakes. And that's where I actually realized that early on that I need mentor, or you can also call them coach, right? Both in your personal life and professional life, because this was very easier for me to figure out because I was into inspirational speaking in my early days, and I knew it's much easier to learn from people who have made it rather than go and struggle again, right? It's That's when I started considering to be coached, right? And like I said, it's very, very important to have an open mind while you're being coached, because the whole point of having a coach or mentor is so that they can give you brutal feedback rather than just
Yes,
sugarcoat and say, you know what, this will work, right? Because it's like I said today, whenever even if I give feedback, if someone asks me feedback, the first thing I say, hey, do you have an open mind? Are you okay to take a brutal feedback, right? It might hurt, but then it's a feedback, right? The whole purpose of asking for a feedback is so that you can be brutally honest. And yeah, I think it's super important. While it's important to find a coach or a mentor in real life, there are different ways also, at least in today's internet age, to find mentors. For example, if you have someone in your field, for example, if you want to be good at product management, there are books who actually guide you on that, right? Like Vivek sir mentioned, $1 Trillion Coach is a brilliant book, right? It basically tells you how people from Google, LinkedIn, etc., have been coached from Bill Campbell, and how important it is to sort of be coached there. Well, my way of being coached again is meeting people who I really, really genuinely feel can add value in my life, both personally and professionally. read a lot of books that I really feel could add value, and also a lot of podcasts. That's how I really go about being coached. And that's the same suggestion I actually give other entrepreneurs, founders as well, that it's important to have a coach when you're basically at a path where you really don't know what exactly to do.
Thank you, Aditya. Very insightful. And I think one thing which is coming out very, very clear is that all of us agree that it is important, it is essential to have a mentor. And as Aditya, you put it, learn from the people who made it. Okay. And that also will help you not making the same kind of mistakes, right? Which already somebody has made. So learn from those experiences.
Yeah.
So I think very, very insightful.
So I
Now,
also add here, you have to also learn from people who failed. So
yes,
that's
absolutely,
Oh,
important.
absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Sometimes you learn more from people who have failed, and because they have
Yes,
made some mistakes,
and
so you
and
can.
and and, and Dr. Sarita, many times the mentor also is able to show the mentee that in something which mentee feels that he or she has failed in, the mentor can show you what is it that you can learn from that and incorporate that in your next journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So very, very, very important, Dr. Sarita, to bring it up. Coming back to Dr. Vivek Mansingh, Dr. Mansingh, we have heard about this term called reverse mentoring. Can you share some thoughts around this, why it works, and how to do it right?
Yeah, very, very important question, Vinod. Reverse mentoring was started by GE when Jack Welch was there. He was a big believer in mentoring. And I have used reverse mentoring both at home and at work. So at home, my reverse mentors are my sons. You can always learn, and they are willing to teach you more than what you probably want to learn. And at work also, I have used reverse mentoring very effectively. So, how does it help? Well, first, what it means is basically a senior executive will be mentored by maybe a new joinee or a person who has just joined your company a year back, and you have honest conversation where both are trying to learn from each other and both are trying to mentor each other. So what is in for for both of them? I think for a senior executive to be very open to learning, same things that we talked about other mentees. Senior executives should not say I know it all and you just sort of come here and telling me what I know already. You need to be very, very open. But then it helps with retention, it helps with hiring. Senior executive understands what culture he or she needs to create in the company to be able to accommodate these young people. Social media things, for example, that senior person may not know and the young person will know. So there's a lot to learn in terms of technology, in terms of culture, and that helps with retention and hiring of young people. While I'm at that, one or two more questions, Vinod, I'll answer.
Mm-hmm.
Many times people ask me, what is in for mentor?
Hmm.
Why are mentors sort of doing this? Is this pure charity? The answer is not. I'll prove, I'll say that there is a Buddhist proverb that says, if you light a lamp for someone, you will also brighten your path. So
Absolutely.
I have mentored literally hundreds, if not thousands, in my life all over the world. And I can tell you that in every interaction, I have also learned a few things. So, mentor should not sort of close that door of learning the opportunity that a mentee provides. One more 30 seconds, Vinod. Coming to entrepreneurship and mentoring in that area, and I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs as a general partner in a venture capital fund. Let me tell you three places where I find that mentoring can help an entrepreneur in a big way. Right, one, I find that competitive analysis is not done properly by most startups. 9 out
Mm-hmm.
of 10 startups do not seriously know their competition, and hence they need help of a mentor who has been there, done that, to be able to guide them. Number two, I will say building the teams. I always say that every startup, especially in technology, should have three gods in their team. And these three gods are user experience person, an architect, and a product manager. I have worked with Steve Jobs, and actually I can talk about more stories there. But Steve made sure that these three people were A class people in his team: product manager, architect, and user experience person. So that is where a mentee can get some help. And then another one which most people do not pay attention to is ethical and moral dilemmas that may come
That's
in
right.
your startup depending on the area of your startup. And again, it is a great idea to have a mentor who can help you in terms of, should you do that or not do that, should you cross this boundary or should you not cross this boundary. And it is very, very important, in addition to the normal parts that a mentor helps you with in a startup sort of platform, is strategy and differentiation of your product. All those areas are given, but these three areas are very important where mentor can help you, provided the mentor has been there, done that before.
Right. Right.
Mentor should have traveled the path that you are planning to travel, so that they can share all the gotchas with you. So with that comment, I'll let you ask any other question that you have.
No, thank you, Dr. Mansingh, and giving very specific inputs in terms of how mentees can take benefit from their mentors in which specific areas. So thank you for that. Dr. Sarita, coming back to you, even though you shared some of the challenges in terms of finding the right mentors, specifically in the hardware design space, but leaving that part aside, I just wanted your views, and I'll quote Indra Nui. Indra Nui recently said that for any young professional or entrepreneur, having a trusted mentor is essential, and we all talked about this. However, she said, far too often we limit ourselves by sticking to mentors and mentees of the same gender. So, what is your experience with respect to the gendered idea of mentoring? Uh,
Sir, I think same ही question हो गया, because there are not many hardware startups in India. Though similar, there are not very many women entrepreneurs who are in hardware sphere. So I don't have much choice but to go to opposite gender. So all my mentors are fortunately, unfortunately, are men. I don't have any. Uh, so I have few women mentors who are, let's say, in finance, and they have other
yes,
experience. And as you rightly said, in the Nui said it correctly, I think when it comes to mentoring, whoever is the best person for that
yes,
job would want to consult them, irrespective of the gender. And so I think that would be my opinion. I think it doesn't matter. Of course, you're more comfortable with the same gender of your kind, but in the hardware, we don't have a
yes.
choice.
No, I agree. In that specific area, because of the availability, there might be an issue. But as you said, I think there should not be any gender linkage in terms of whosoever you think can help you, can add value, can be your mentor, right?
Sir, I add one more thing. So in hardware
Yes,
domain, the team member are all male because there are very few. So I think even your mentees are male, your mentors are in most cases chance. So
but
I think you learn to be in a different domain
sure,
easily.
sure. But definitely, Dr. Sarita, you can be a mentor, and you can change some of that now, and we will have Tai use your expertise now in helping the budding product startups who are also doing hardware development in India. So Aditya, now
Yes, sir.
coming to you, way too often we hear this term not mentorable. Okay, that somebody can't be mentored. What are your thoughts? And can one learn how to be mentored?
Well, I have personally come across a lot of people who, uh, you know, uh, who are not open to being mentored. And I personally feel that as an entrepreneur, as a founder, be it whatever you've been, whatever you are in your personal journey, right? It's important to, like I mentioned, it's important to have an open mind, right? If you're not being able, if you're not open to be coached, right? How do you expect other people in your team to be sort of listen to you or also coached, right? And that's also transferable. And that's how you basically build culture. I do have come across various founder friends who are not ready to be coached, but in the end, they were like, okay, let me just try it. And that just an mind opening experience, right? So I would say, even if there are people who are not, I mean, there are folks who say, hey, I have so and so experience in the past, and I know my stuff too well. But as Steve Jobs also said, right, he was also had various coaches through books, and also he had come down to India. He had an open mind. He had to relearn and unlearn, right? And that's very important for an entrepreneur
Yes,
or a founder, be it coaching or be it otherwise also. And especially given the kind of markets we are in, and when we talk about the word pivot, how does one pivot if you don't have an open mind, right?
yes.
So it's very important to unlearn, and that's the whole concept about coaching, right? And that's where I feel that it's very, very important for people to unlearn and learn every day, at least in this current generation.
No, thanks. Very rightly sir, said. Learn, relearn, unlearn, and that cycle continues. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sir, I'll add one point to this. Mentor also has to be persistent. If he believes in something, I think he has to go after mentee ki nahi bhi sun rahe to sunaunga main. You
And
know?
and, and I have done that, Dr. Sarita, with a number of my mentees, and eventually it has helped, and they eventually agreed that, sir, it was good that you were after us, or you were so persistent, because now we realize that otherwise we would have given up. Yeah, so absolutely right. So I think from the time perspective, we are almost over time. So before we close, I would request each one of you, starting with Aditya, and then Dr. Sarita and Dr. Mansingh, just one line closing thoughts on this subject. So Aditya, maybe you
So
can
my,
go
my
first now.
closing line would be, sir, that just have an open mind, and be ready to learn, relearn, and unlearn, right? And just go out and find the right people who could guide you, be it in terms of mentor or coach, right? And if there's any help that I can add, or if I can put you in touch with people, I'll be more than happy to do that in any way. So
Thank you, Dr. Sarita.
So I would say, sir, that finding a mentor is not easy, and especially who can, help you in your domain. So don't give up. Keep looking for the right people, and it's a journey, and it's not one mentor that could serve you all your. And I also think with each stage, need different kind of mentor. And as Vivek sir said, somebody who's been there, done it successfully are the ones you want to look for. And so this is a long journey and being an entrepreneur. So you have to keep looking for people who can
Yes.
help you, guide you. So don't give up so soon, and keep till you find the right set of people who are part of your team.
Thank you. Great thoughts. And your closing thoughts, Dr. Manse.
Yes, I think it's absolutely essential. It is not a choice. It's absolutely essential for everyone to have mentors. Now, when you go to a good mentor who is in demand, they will say, what steps have you taken to be able to reach me and become my mentee? And you need to say that I have done one, two, three, four things, and now I'm ready to be mentored by you. So, like they say, when you are ready, the guru arrives. When you are ready, the mentor will also arrive. And my book guides you in taking those first three, four, five steps that will help you in getting a good mentor.
Thank you, Dr. Mansingh, and what a great way to close this panel discussion. Thank you all. It was very insightful, and I think audience would have taken few takeaways from whatever all of us had to share. Thank you.
thank you so much.